The series continues with the 2019 running back class. Straight up, it's not a good class. But let's dig through the ones who have an NFL future, even if that means committee work only on their rookie contracts. If you read the 2019 NFL Draft WR Stats report, then you understand the premise of this column, so skip ahead. But the purpose here is to provide context to a variety of statistics I used to rank these players solely based on their analytical profiles. Included in this evaluation: rushing and receiving production, rushing and receiving efficiency, offensive line play, strength of schedule, size, class, comparisons to teammates, and a ton more. It's not every single thing we can evaluate, but it's certainly a lot of it. The sources for this column include Bill Connolly's S. All of them are fantastic resources if you haven't seen their products. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at HaydenWinks. 1. Travion Williams, Texas A. HLT yards per opportunity, 6.8, 8th TD percent versus team, 2.6%, 8th receiving rank, 3rd Travion Williams tested above average all across the board despite facing the 3rd toughest strength of schedule. Williams averaged 2.4 more yards per carry than his teammates, 7th at Texas A. The junior also maintained high efficiency, 13th in marginal efficiency, while seeing 21 carries per game, 8th. But it didn't stop there. Williams was also effective as a receiver, averaging a respectable 7.1 yards on his 39 targets, 69% catch rate. Overall, only Darrell Henderson had more total yards, 2,038, and only Henderson and Devin Singletary scored more total touchdowns, 19. There's potential for three-down work with Williams. He may be too small though, but let's see how he tests at the NFL Combine. 2. Darrell Henderson, Memphis Jr. 5'9", 200ths career stats, 431, 3,545, 36 and 6'3", 7'5", 8 YPC versus team, 3.9, first, marginal efficiency, 50.5%, 19th, HLT yards per opportunity, 12.2, first, TD percent versus team, 3.9%, fourth, receiving rank, 10th. Darrell Henderson was insanely good in 2018, but he finished just shy of no. 1 in part to a smaller workload and an easier schedule than Travion Williams. Henderson did come in first in a few metrics, however. The junior led in rushing yards, 1,909, rushing yards per game, 147, YPC, 8.9, YPC versus team, 3.9, non-red zone yards, 1,789, non-red zone YPC, 9.9, 8-yard carry percentage, 33%, 20-yard carry percentage, 12%, non-red zone TDs, 14, non-red zone TD percent, 7.7%, TD percent, 10.3%, rushing touchdowns, 22, yards per target, 12.8, marginal explosion as a receiver, 1.4, total yards, 2,204, yards per touch, 9.3, total touchdowns, 25, and total TD percent, 10.5%. I bet you started skimming at the end of that list because it was so long. Anyways, Henderson has big playability as a runner and receiver, but he may be too light to be a bell cow back. Even if that's true, I'd still very much want Henderson on my team. Anywhere around the round 2/3 turn is more than fine with me. 3. Divino Zigbo, Nebraska, senior 5'11", 219th career stats, 419, 2,196, 21 and 49, 4.880 YPC versus team, 2.4, 6th, marginal efficiency, 58.7%, 4th, HLT yards per opportunity, 6.6, 11th TD percent versus team, 3.5%, 6th receiving rank, 9th. Divino Zigbo quietly had an awesome season, and it sounds like his stock is on the rise after a great week at Shrine practices. During the 2018 season, Ozigbo was one of the most efficient runners in our sample. Senior finished top 10 in YPC, 3rd, YPC versus team, 6th, TD percent, 7th, and TD percent versus team, 6th. Ozigbo also scored 5 touchdowns outside of the red zone, 4.0 TD percent, which were top 5 and indicate some explosion in athleticism. There are some workload concerns. The most carries in a season was 155, but Ozigbo has the profile of a decent all-around committee back if he can test well in a few weeks. 4. Dexter Williams, Notre Dame, senior 5'11", 215 career stats, 257, 1,636, 20 and 2-2, 162-2, YPC versus team, 2.6, fourth, marginal efficiency, 44.9%, 32nd, HLT yards per opportunity, 8.2, second, TD percent versus team, 3.5%, fifth, receiving rank, 27th. Dexter Williams was a late bloomer because of some injuries and disciplinary issues, but he got things under control in 2018. Williams tested above average in most of the categories I looked at, especially in the touchdown department. His touchdown rate and touchdown rate versus team were both top 10, and his 63% team share of touchdowns was fourth in the sample. Williams is more than a touchdown scorer, however. The senior was above average, picking up yards, 6.3 YPC, and he did catch 16 passes, even if it was a struggle to get there, 67% catch rate. I'm not sure what the NFL thinks of Williams since he has been suspended in college, but he looked like a solid complementary piece at the next level and would be a quality day 3 prospect. 5. Josh Jacobs, Alabama, junior 5'10", 216 career stats, 251, 1,491, 16 and 4.8, 5.71, 5 YPC versus team, 0.1, 36, marginal efficiency, 21.5%, second, HLT yards per opportunity, 9.5, fifth, TD percent versus team, 4.3, first, receiving rank, first. Don't let the red in his snapshot fool you. Josh Jacobs is a legit RB1 candidate, and the efficiency and receiving stats show that. The reason why his profile looks red is because of how he has used at Alabama. Jacobs was never deployed as a bell cow back because of the talent, Damian Harris and Najee Harris, around him. Instead, Jacobs made the most of his 10 touches per game. As a rusher, Jacobs was third in touchdown rate, but he was first in TD percent versus team after beating his teammates in touchdown rate by 4.3%. He did so by scoring touchdowns on 10 of 39 red zone carries, 25.6%. The 3-star high school recruit finished third in percentage of carries over 8 yards, 28%, and seventh in 20-yard percentage, 6%, so the explosion is there. Jacobs also was extremely efficient as a receiver, finishing top 5 in YPT, 5th, TD percent 3rd, and marginal efficiency, 2nd. Expected to help his case at the NFL Combine, Jacobs is fine with me as the best running back prospect in the class, and I'd select him with a second-round pick. 6. Darwin Thompson, Utah State, junior 5'8", 200 career stats, 153, 1,044, 14 and 2.3, 3.51, 2 YPC versus team, 1.8, 12 marginal efficiency, 54.9%, 8th HLT yards per opportunity, 7.5, 5th TD percent versus team, 2.3%, 10th receiving rank, 30th. Darwin Thompson has been compared to Tariq Cohen for their impressive athleticism, and that athleticism showed up in his production and efficiency. Thompson averaged 8.2 yards per carry outside of the red zone and finished 4th in non-red zone touchdown percentage, 4.4%. Both of those metrics indicate explosion, which we should see at the NFL Combine. But what is intriguing to me is his upside as a receiver. He 11.7 yards per target only trailed Darrell Henderson, and he finished top 5 in marginal efficiency and marginal explosion as a receiver. While he's likely too small for 3-down work, Thompson could be an attractive committee back in today's NFL, similar to Tariq Cohen. 7. Darren Hall, Pittsburgh, senior 5'11", 225th career stats, 381, 2,189, 21 and 3.8, 2.67, 1 YPC versus team, 2.6, 5th marginal efficiency, 56.2%, 7th HLT yards per opportunity, 8.0, third TD percent versus team, 1.9%, 12th receiving rank, 19th. Darren Hall was a very efficient runner for Pittsburgh, serving as the 1B to Kadri Allison's 1A. Despite being listed at 225 pounds, Hall was able to average 8.2 yards on his 113 non-red zone carries, which was third on the list. Hall also showed well in YPC versus team, 5th, marginal efficiency, 7th, and HLT yards per opportunity, 3rd. Despite all this, I'm struggling to see a lot of upside since he was terrible as a receiver, but that doesn't mean he can't get early down carries in the NFL. 8. Kareth White, Florida Atlantic, Jr. 5'10", 200ths career stats, 232, 1,358, 11 and 2.2, 2.272, YPC versus team, 1.8, 13th, marginal efficiency, 56.7%, 5th, HLT yards per opportunity, 6.4, 13th, TD percent versus team, minus 0.2%, 28th receiving rank, 16th. Kareth White tested well in the efficiency metrics, especially as a receiver, but he isn't a top 10 running back prospect. White got the benefit of coming in after Devin Singletary, one of my favorite runners in the class, bulldozed his way over defenders, and those dark green parts of his snapshot are the product of small sample variance. Unless there's great testing results at his workouts, then I think we can move on and focus on players with bigger roles on better teams. 9. Damian Harris, Alabama, senior 5'11", 215ths career stats, 477, 3,070, 23 and 5.2, 407, 2, YPC versus team, 0.8, 26, marginal efficiency, 52.7%, 11th HLT yards per opportunity, 5.4, 20th TD percent versus team, 0.3%, 24th. Receiving rank, 4th. Damian Harris has a lot of things going for him that weren't accounted for in the model: leadership, pass protection, playing at Alabama, etc., but he still nearly cracked the top 10 purely based on his analytical profile. That's a win for him since he was dinged for playing in a committee. But we are all smart enough to not actually knock him for that. Harris is a decent runner, 7.0 YPC on non-red zone carries, 6th, and can be used near the goal line, 8 red zone touchdowns. But Harris also has underrated receiving ability, highlighted by his 16.3% marginal efficiency, 4th, 8.0 yards per target, 9th, and 80% catch rate, 11th. Harris can be used in a bell cow role if need be, even if he's not as explosive. The NFL Combine could change that stance, as some of today's bell cow RBs. And Kadri Allison, Pittsburgh, senior 6'2", 225ths career stats, 529, 2,859, 29 and 5.0, 3.753, YPC versus team, 1.1, 23rd, marginal efficiency, 45.4%, 30th, HLT yards per opportunity, 7.9, 4th TD percent versus team, 0.8%, 19th receiving rank, 23rd. Kadri Allison is the second Pitt running back to crack the first page, and like Darren Hall, Allison was a slightly above average runner but really struggled as a receiver, 3.9 YPT. Evaluating Allison's running profile is interesting because he was a decent back inside the red zone, but the team opted to use Darren Hall more in those situations. Instead, Allison was the primary runner between the 20s, and he ended with a 6.6 YPC on non-red zone carries, 16th. A player who doesn't appear to excel in any particular situation, Allison needs a good NFL Combine for him to be more than a depth runner in my eyes, but he was productive enough to crack a 53-man roster. The career stats, 355, 1,853, 12 and 6.8, 5.073, YPC versus team, 1.9, 11th marginal efficiency, 44.0%, 36, HLT yards per opportunity, 6.9, 7th TD percent versus team, 0.4%, 22nd, receiving rank, 6th DJ. Knox doesn't pop anywhere, but he was an okay receiver, which is arguably the most important aspect of a running back's evaluation in today's NFL. Knox caught 27 of 31 targets, 87%, but he wasn't explosive with the ball in his hands, 5.8 YPT. That's interesting because he scored 4 20-yard touchdowns, tied for 7th, and averaged 1.9 more yards than his teammates at Purdue, two metrics that show he is decent at picking up yards. Overall, there's not a whole lot to love, so let's continue moving forward. 12. David Montgomery, Iowa State, Junior 5'11", 216 career stats, 624 2,925 26 and 7'1", 5.82 YPC versus team, 2.46, marginal efficiency, 47.9%, 26, HLT yards per opportunity. 4.3, 34th TD percent versus team, 1.9%, 11th receiving rank, 10th. David Montgomery's yardage numbers are really bad, but there's at least one quality explanation: his offensive line, which had factored into these rankings. Iowa State was 101st in my OL rushing metric, and that fits with what? One way to factor some of the OL play out is by comparing his YPC and TD percent to his teammates. And not surprisingly, Montgomery finished top 11 in both categories. The highly touted back was also amazing when the field shrinks. Inside the 20, Montgomery scored 13 touchdowns, 5th because of high-end broken tackle numbers. It shouldn't be surprising to see Montgomery win in short yardage situations in the NFL. But there's one thing that has kept me a little skeptical of viewing Montgomery as a high-quality RB prospect, and that is his non-red zone production. Montgomery didn't score a single touchdown outside of the red zone despite seeing 202 carries. The only other player in the sample who didn't have a 20-yard touchdown in the sample is Missouri's Demarius Crockett, but he only had 121 non-red zone carries, and people would laugh at comparing Crockett to Montgomery. It's a sign that Montgomery doesn't have breakaway speed, and his 5.1 YPC average, 33rd, further shows that. Overall, Montgomery is a tough prospect to evaluate because he was really good at breaking tackles and scoring touchdowns in the red zone, but I have my concerns. However, a ton of those concerns can be wiped away with a good 40-yard dash and broad jump at the NFL Combine. For now, I don't think Montgomery is a great running back prospect and is more of a day 2 player. 13. Alex Barnes, Kansas State, Junior 6'1", 225th career stats, 458 2,616 25 and 2.5223 YPC versus team, 2.0, 10th, marginal efficiency, 49.6%, 20th, HLT yards per opportunity, 5.0, 26, TD percent versus team, 1.3%, 14th, receiving rank, 13th. Alex Barnes grinded his way inside the top 15 because of his production, not efficiency. Some of the poor YPC numbers can be attributed to his surroundings, however. Barnes averaged 2.0 more yards per carry than his teammates, and he scored touchdowns at a higher rate as well. Basically, this is a less extreme version of David Montgomery, except Barnes finished with 4 20-yard touchdowns compared to Montgomery's 0. As a receiver, Barnes was average across the board minus the touchdowns, so Barnes looks like a versatile backup back, but that's subject to change with the NFL Combine a few weeks away. 14. Kari Blasingame, Vanderbilt, Senior 6'1", 230th career stats, 238 997 15 and 35 380 2 YPC versus team, -1.1, 40th, marginal efficiency, 39.6%, 40th, HLT yards per opportunity, 4.8, 29th TD percent versus team, 0.1%, 25th receiving rank. Second, Kari Blasingame was way higher on the list than expected, and that's only because of the weight I put on receiving. Blasingame was near the bottom of every rushing metric possible, but he was inside the top 10 in targets, 6th, receptions, 6th, receiving yards, 3rd, yards per target, 4th, and marginal explosion, 4th. However, if he doesn't have strong combine results, then I'm out on Blasingame as a legit passing down back. 15. James Williams, Washington State, Junior 6.0 205th career stats, 316, 1,543 19 and 202-1, 4.37, YPC versus team, 1.6, 17th marginal efficiency, 48.4%, 24th HLT yards per opportunity, 3.5, 39th TD percent versus team, 2.5%, 9th receiving rank. 5th James Williams did two things really well at Washington State, and that's win as a receiver and win in short yardage situations. In my opinion, those are the two most important things for running backs. Williams led this year's class in targets, 93, receptions, 83, receiving yards, 613, and receiving touchdowns, 4, and graded well in YPT, 4th, and marginal explosion, 4th, as well. What will surprise people is his short yardage success. According to Expand the Box Score, Williams got a first down on 70% of his 40, and short touches. It's a unique role to play. Williams is one of 3 FBS players to have 100 carries and 80 receptions since 2000, but Williams is ideal fit for pass-heavy NFL teams as a plus receiver and good enough runner. I'm just hoping he goes to the right team to make it happen. 16 Benny Snell Jr. Kentucky, Junior 5'11", 223rd career stats, 737, 3,873 48 and 29, 216, YPC versus team, 0.2, 35th marginal efficiency, 50.9%, 17th HLT yards per opportunity, 4.1, 35th TD percent versus team, 0.9%, 18th receiving rank. 13th Benny Snell Jr. was a workhorse at Kentucky, but he wasn't overly efficient. Of course, it's much harder to be efficient when you get 22 carries per game, especially in the SEC as clearly the best offensive player on the team. Even if his per-touch yardage numbers ended up being below average, Snell was slightly above average at scoring. Snell had 4 20-yard touchdowns, tied for 7th, and scored touchdowns on 12 of 59 red zone carries for a 20.3% TD rate, 16th. Ultimately, Snell looks like a decent backup or committee option in the NFL thanks to big rushing production in the SEC. If he tests well at the NFL Combine, Snell could end up profiling as a low-end starter. 17. Reggie Gillespie 2, NC State, Senior 5'11", 235th career stats, 459, 2,155, 31 and 301, YPC versus team, 1.8, 14th marginal efficiency, 43.0%, 37th HLT yards per opportunity, 5.4, 23rd TD percent versus team, 4.3%, 2nd receiving rank. 38th Reggie Gillespie 2 was an elite touchdown scorer, and that shouldn't be too surprising if you saw his 5'11", 235-pound frame. Gillespie scored the second most red zone touchdowns, 17 in the sample, and 16 of 17 came on goal-to-go carries. That goal line production resulted in a high-end 7.9% TD rate, which was 4.3% better than his teammates' second largest difference. Gillespie doesn't offer much outside of bulldozing and short yardage, so he's just a specialist. 18. Alexander Mattison, Boise State, Junior 5'11", 211th career stats, 581, 2,829 33 and 6.0, 5.111, YPC versus team, 1.2, 22nd marginal efficiency, 48.7%. 23rd HLT yards per opportunity, 3.9, 36 TD percent versus team, 2.7%, 7th receiving rank. 18th Alexander Mattison and Benny Snell have similar profiles if we are ignoring quality of opponent. Both were highly productive but not impressive on a per-touch basis. For Mattison, there weren't too many explosive plays, only 2% of his carries went for at least 20 yards, but he made it count in short yardage situations. As a receiver, Mattison was involved 27 receptions, but he only averaged 5.2 yards per target. Mattison is best viewed as a backup, unless he has a big day at the NFL Combine. 19. Devin Singletary, Florida Atlantic, Junior 5'9", 200ths career stats, 714 4,287 66 and 5'1", 397, YPC versus team, 0.1, 37th marginal efficiency, 45.4%, 31st, HLT yards per opportunity, 6.0, 14th TD percent versus team, 4.2%, 3rd receiving rank, 38th. Devin Singletary was inside the top 10 if I took the receiving aspect out of the equation. That's very important to distinguish because Singletary wasn't used as a receiver in 2018, but he had 2 seasons with at least 19 receptions prior. It would be short-sighted if we didn't think Singletary could catch passes in the NFL, but that's not where he's going to make his money. Instead, Singletary offers plus rushing ability, especially inside the red zone. Singletary scored on 23.1%, 10th of his 78 red zone carries and finished with the most red zone touchdowns, 18. Outside of the red zone, Singletary was just average, 5.9 yards per carry, but he had a huge workload and was clearly the player opposing defenses needed to stop. Despite the low ranking, I'm bullish on Singletary as a runner, and I'm not going to bet against him as a receiver either. He's one of the best running back prospects in the class, and he should be taken somewhere around the round 2/3 borderline. 20 AJ Willett, Ohio, senior 5'10", 209's career stats, 719 3,829 32 and 6'4", 5'1", 6'6", YPC versus team, 0.1, 38th marginal efficiency, 56.3%, 6, HLT yards per opportunity, 5.5, 18th TD percent versus team, minus 2.6%, 38th receiving rank, 32nd if you are reading the AJ Willett description right now. I respect your hustle. Willett is a low-end prospect with a decent 6.1 YPC average, but that's only 0.1 yards better than his teammates, 38. He was an efficient receiver though, but Willett will need to have a good NFL combine if he's going to get opportunities as a running back on Sundays. Approximately 21. Cedric Ware, USC, senior 6'0", 205ths career stats, 264 1,505 10 and 19, 1260 YPC versus team, 3.7, 2nd marginal efficiency, 53.6%, 9th HLT yards per opportunity, 6.5, 12th TD percent versus team, 0.8%, 20th receiving rank, 36, 22. Nick Brosette, LSU, senior 6'0", 217ths career stats, 286 1,345 14 and 1577 YPC versus team, 0.5, 32nd marginal efficiency, 42.1, 39th HLT yards per opportunity, 4.6, 32nd TD percent versus team, 1.3%, 16th receiving rank, 17th 23. Nico Evans, Wyoming, senior 5'9", 211ths career stats, 241,433 8 and 19, 1532 YPC versus team, 2.8 3rd marginal efficiency, 52.2%, 14th HLT yards per opportunity, 6.8 9th TD percent versus team, 0.1%, 26 receiving rank, 33rd 24. Trevin McMillian, Colorado, senior 6'0", 210ths career stats, 653,167 23 and 49, 4.758 YPC versus team, 2.2, 9th marginal efficiency, 44.3%, 34th HLT yards per opportunity, 6.0, 15th TD percent versus team, minus 2.3%, 37th receiving rank, 22nd 25. Justice Hill, Oklahoma State, junior 5'10", 190ths career stats, 632 3,539 30 and 49, 304 YPC versus team, 1.5, 18th marginal efficiency, 48.4%, 24th HLT yards per opportunity, 6.6, 10th TD percent versus team, 0.0%, 27th receiving rank, 29th 26. Harris Williams, Mississippi State, senior 6'1", 215th career stats, 400